beginning of Sarawak history. Sarawak has its own unique history of administration, beginning with Brunei era, followed by the Brooke family, Japanese occupation, and Crown Colony of the British government in 1946. The independence we enjoy today is the result of the sacrifice from the former leaders and generations before who struggled to ensure that this independence is enjoyed by all the people of Sarawak. Brunei era 1599 to 1841. In 1599, Pangeran Muda Tengah Ibrahim Ali Omar Shah, also known as Sultan Tengah, the first Sultan of Sarawak, established Santubong as his capital. After Sultan Tengah's death in 1641, Brunei Sultan Omar Ali Saifuddin II did not appoint another sultan for Sarawak. Instead, the responsibility of administering Sarawak was given to Pangeran Indra Mahkota Pangeran Muhammad Saleh. He became the governor of Sarawak in the early to mid-19th century, accompanied by Pangeran Muda Hashim. The reign of Brunei Sultanate in Sarawak ended when the White Rajas began to take control of larger territories to carve out a kingdom for themselves. Brooke era 1841 to 1940. On his second visit in 1841, he agreed to help Raja Muda Hashim to quell the rebellion in Sarawak. As a reward, he was installed as the Raja of Sarawak, which comprised the territory from Tanjung Datu to the Sadong River in Kuching on 18 September 1842. Sarawak's border under James Brooke continued to expand from Sadong River to Tanjung Kidurong until he was succeeded by his nephew Charles Brooke in 1867. James Brooke died in England in 1868. Charles Vyner Brooke, the second son of Charles Brooke, succeeded his father to become the third Raja of Sarawak on 24th May 1917. The eldest son, Bertram Brooke, had earlier on declined the offer to rule. Vyner Brooke formulated a new constitution which put an end to the absolute power of the Raja in 1941. The Council Negeri was given the power to ensure that no law could be passed or money spent without its consent. The Japanese era 1941 to 1945. On 16 December 1941, Japanese forces landed at Brighton Beach in Miri and scaled up Tanjong Lobang to reach the lighthouse, where they killed the caretaker. The Japanese forces rapidly moved towards Kuching and occupied it on Christmas Eve that year. When the Japanese invaded Sarawak, Vyner Brooke had already left for Australia, where he operated in exile from Sydney and subsequently moved to London. Most of the European officers in Sarawak were rounded up by the Japanese and interned at Batulintang Camp, the present Batulintang Teachers Training College in Kuching. They were confined to trying conditions, and many did not survive the ordeal. The administrative and economic infrastructures were severely damaged during the 3.5-year occupation. The Japanese forces built an iron bridge, which can still be seen today across the Sadong River in Serian. The civilians also suffered hardship as most of their rice crops were seized by the soldiers from the rising sun. Japan sought peace on 15 August 1945, and all regular resistance to the occupation forces ceased on that date. The Australian Armed Forces under Major General Wooten entered Kuching on 11 September 1945 to receive the formal surrender of the Japanese Army in Sarawak, which was immediately placed under British military rule administered by the Australian military until 15 April 1946. British era 1941 to 1963. In 1946, Sarawak to be ceded to Britain by 3rd Raja Brooke. The British government sent 2 Malay-speaking members of parliament to Sarawak to ascertain whether the people were in favour of cession. It was found that there was sufficient support for cession to be put before the Council Negeri. This motion was subsequently debated for 3 days in the Council Negeri. The Bill of Cession was read for the 3rd time on 17 May 1946 and was passed by 19 votes against 16. Sarawak towards independence. On 1st July 1946, Sarawak became a British Crown colony with Sir Charles Arden Clark made the first British Crown colonial governor. The people of Sarawak were largely divided over the question of cession. The passing of the motion by a small European majority in the Council Negeri did not end this issue. Dissatisfaction mounted and culminated in the mass resignation of the 388 Malay civil servants and the assassination of Sir Duncan Stewart, the second British governor, in 1949 by Rosely Dobbie in Cebu. This marked the awakening of the political consciousness of the people of Sarawak. The British reaction to this attack was swift, and the protest movement virtually died out by 1950. The Council Negeri remained as the governing body of the state. In 1956, a new constitution was promulgated. It gave an official majority to the Council Negeri for the first time. The first direct local government elections were held in November that year. On 27 May 1961, Malayan Prime Minister Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj proposed a merger for closer political and economic cooperation between the Federation of Malaya, Singapore, Sarawak, North Borneo, as Sabah was known then, and Brunei. British Prime Minister Sir Harold Macmillan supported the idea, and the first Malaysia Solidarity Consultative Committee (MSCC) meeting was held in Singapore 2 months later, followed by an eye-opening visit by leaders from Sarawak and Sabah to Malaya on 12 August 1962. In 1962, 2 Malayans and 3 British representatives, headed by Lord Cameron Cobbold, conducted a referendum amongst Sarawakians on the proposed Federation of Malaysia. The findings of the Cobbold Commission led to the Malaysia Agreement signed on 9 July 1963 by Malaya, Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore. As spelled out in the 20-point requirements raised by Sabah and 18-point by Sarawak, the agreement sought to protect the interests, rights, and autonomy of the people of the 2 states after the formation of Malaysia. Self-governance, 22nd July 1963. Handing over the rights to the state, Sarawak held its first state election between April to June 1963. The election was divided into 3 stages, namely District Council level, first level, Regional Advisory Council level, the second level, State Council level, the third level. The process of preparing Sarawak for self-government started with the establishment of political parties in June 1959, followed by elections in 1963 and the appointment of the Chief Minister and Member of State Council on July 22, 1963. This process continued until the conference of the State Council attended by the representatives of the UN on 4th September 1963. The appointment of the first Sarawak cabinet is a historical moment as it marked the end of the rule of Sarawak as a British colony towards its own self-governance at the time. Temenggong juga anak baring OBE, Datuk Bandar Abang Mustapa CBE, Abang Haji Openg, Ling Beng Siu, and PEH Pike signed on behalf of Sarawak, while Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj and Sir Harold Macmillan represented Malaya and Britain respectively. On 22nd July 1963, the Governor of Sarawak, Sir Alexander Waddell, issued a proclamation to form the first Supreme Council with the appointment of Stephen Kalong-Ningkan, the chairman of Sarawak National Party, SNAP, as the first Chief Minister of Sarawak. The other members of the Supreme Council were Abdul Taib Mahmud, James Wong Kim Ming, Dunstan Endawi Anak Encana, Awang Hipni Pengiran Anu, and Teo Kui Seng. This marked the end of colonial rule and birth of Sarawak as an independent country. On 29 August 1963, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong signed the Malaysia Declaration for the formation of the Federation of Malaysia. This was subsequently approved by the Sarawak Legislative Assembly on 4th September 1963 with 38 votes for and 5 against. A week later, Chief Minister Stephen Kalong-Ningkan, 3 state cabinet ministers and 10 members of the alliance flew to Kuala Lumpur to meet the Prime Minister and the Secretary of the Colony of Britain, Duncan Sandys, as an exciting new future beckoned for Sarawak. On 16 September 1963, the Honorable Hir Johari read the historic proclamation of Malaysia, witnessed by Dato' Abang Haji Openg Abang Sapii, the first Yang di-Pertuan Negeri Sarawak, Dato' Stephen Kalong-Ningkan, the Chief Minister, members of the First State Cabinet, and the public at Central Padang in Kuching. It was a poignant and proud moment when Ningkan read the proclamation of the independence of Sarawak. Now, therefore I, Stephen Kalong-Ningkan, the Chief Minister of Sarawak, hereby proclaim that Sarawak has this day attained independence as a state of Malaysia. This was followed by the hoisting of the federal flag and the playing of the national anthem Negara. On this historical day, Sarawak achieved full independence as a member state of the Federation of Malaysia. Sarawak since formation of Malaysia. We as Sarawakians are urged not to forget an important date in the state's history, which is July 22nd, 1963. This is the date we gained our freedom from the British. Another date to be remembered is September 16, 1963, which is the date of the formation of Malaysia. Sarawak has since developed into a flourishing state in Malaysia. The achievement of development as seen now is a reflection of the wise visionary of wise leadership and the unity of the people in achieving our goals as a developed state and moving towards digital economy.
you.